There was a time when they underestimated you, when they mistook your kindness for weakness, when they thought their words could define your worth. They spoke over you, belittled your efforts, questioned your abilities, not because you lacked anything, but because their own ego couldn't handle your quiet strength. And then you stopped explaining, you stopped defending, you stopped proving yourself to people who were never willing to see your greatness in the first place. At first they laughed. They called it surrender. They thought they had won, but soon something shifted. The moment you stopped feeding their ego with your reactions, their power crumbled. Because the truth is, people who thrive on making others feel small cannot survive in the absence of attention. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Silence forces them to sit with themselves with the weight of their own insecurity. Look at Michael Jordan, cut from his high school basketball team, doubted by coaches. He didn't waste time arguing. He didn't demand validation. He went to work. He trained. He pushed. He obsessed. Years later, those same people who dismissed him had no choice but to watch him become the greatest of all time. His silence wasn't defeat. It was the calm before the storm. Think of Oprah Winfrey. Fired from her first television job, told she wasn't fit for TV. She didn't lash out. She didn't beg. She let her work speak. And now, the same industry that rejected her once calls her one of the most powerful women in the world. Because when you step back, when you stop justifying yourself, to those who refuse to understand your value, they are left with nothing but the truth that they never had control over you. Ego-driven people thrive on reaction. They want you angry. They want you flustered. They want you to fight back because as long as you are reacting, they still have power. But the moment you detach, the moment you walk away with your head held high, they are left standing in the ruins of their own arrogance. So let them underestimate you. Let them believe they've won, and then in the silence, in the shadows, do the work. Build yourself so strong, so undeniable, that when you rise, there is nothing left for them to do but watch. Because the most powerful response to arrogance, to doubt, to anyone who tried to hold you down is undeniable success. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. It is the move that catches them off guard, the power they never saw coming. People expect a reaction. They expect you to fight, to defend, to explain yourself. Because as long as you're doing that, they still have control. They can twist your words, manipulate the situation, and keep you playing their game. But the moment you choose silence, you change the rules. You strip them of their ability to dictate how you feel. Look at the greatest warriors, the most powerful minds, the legends who reshaped history. They didn't waste energy proving their worth to small-minded people. They didn't let their emotions be dictated by the insecurities of others. They knew that silence is not the absence of power. It is the highest form of control. It forces the other person to sit in their own chaos, to question their own actions, to realize that without your reaction, they are left only with themselves. And that is a battle they are not prepared to fight. Imagine someone trying to push your buttons, trying to make you explode. They insult, they provoke, they challenge because they need your reaction to fuel their ego. But when you don't give it to them, when you remain calm, focused, unbothered, suddenly they feel powerless. They realize they never had control over you. Their ego, which was so dependent on your response, begins to crumble. And now they are left frustrated while you remain untouchable. Think about the greatest comeback stories. The ones who were doubted, dismissed, counted out. They didn't waste time convincing people of their worth. They worked in silence. They built themselves in the shadows. And when they emerged, they didn't need to say a word. Their success spoke for them because silence is not surrender. It is patience. It is the discipline to wait, to watch, to prepare. People mistake silence for defeat, but it is the ultimate power move. It keeps them guessing, leaves them unsettled, forces them to deal with their own insecurity. The loudest voice in the room is not always the strongest. The one who speaks less but acts more is the one who truly holds control. And when the time comes, when the moment is right, Your silence will speak louder than anything they ever said. People who thrive on belittling others cannot survive without attention. Their confidence is not real. It is an illusion built on the need to feel superior. They do not seek power within themselves. They seek it through controlling how others feel. They insult, they mock, they diminish, not because they are truly strong, but because they need to believe they are. Their ego is fragile, and the only way they keep it inflated is by making others feel small. These people feed on reaction. They push buttons, stir conflict, and crave validation through dominance. The moment you argue, defend, or seek their approval, you give them exactly what they need. Proof that they still have influence over you. They thrive when they see you affected, when they see their words impact your emotions. Because as long as you respond, they know they matter in your world. They want to be the center of your focus, whether through fear, frustration, or insecurity. But what happens when you take that away? What happens when you refuse to engage, when their words meet silence, when their attempts to provoke you fall flat, their power collapses, their ego, once held up by your reactions, begins to wither? Suddenly, they are left with themselves, forced to confront their own insignificance, the thing they feared most, the possibility that they don't truly have control over others, becomes their reality. And that realization is unbearable for them. History is filled with people who were ridiculed, doubted, and torn down by those who needed to feel superior. Yet the ones who achieved greatness were not the ones who argued back, but the ones who ignored the noise and built their own success. Imagine a great performer booed off stage, an artist rejected by critics, an athlete told they would never make it. If they had let those words define them, their stories would have ended there. But they understood something powerful. People who seek to destroy others are only as strong as the attention they receive. So instead of feeding that negativity, they let their success be the only response. The ones who try to make you feel small are the ones who fear your potential the most. They rely on your doubt to maintain their confidence. But the moment you stop reacting, the moment you take back control, they lose everything. Because without your energy, without your attention, they are nothing. Success speaks louder than explanations. No amount of words, no desperate attempt to prove yourself will ever hold the same weight as undeniable achievement. People will doubt you, criticize you, and try to make you feel like you're not enough. They will question your abilities, not because you lack talent, but because they need to feel superior. They will dismiss your potential, not because you can't succeed, but because they fear that you will. It is easy to fall into the trap of explanation, of wanting to justify your dreams, to make them understand why you deserve to be where you're going. But the truth is, the more you explain, the more you give them power. People who don't believe in you won't suddenly change their minds because of a well-crafted argument. They don't doubt you because of logic. They doubt you because of insecurity. And no explanation will ever satisfy someone who is committed to misunderstanding your worth. Think about the greatest legends, those who redefined industries, shattered expectations, and changed the game forever. They weren't the ones who wasted time defending their dreams. They were the ones who got to work. Michael Jordan didn't sit down with every coach who doubted him to explain why he would be the greatest. He trained harder. He mastered his craft. He let his championships, his legacy, and his dominance be his answer. Oprah Winfrey didn't beg the television industry to recognize her talent after she was fired. She built an empire so undeniable that the same world that once rejected her had no choice but to celebrate her. The greatest revenge is success. Not anger, not arguments, not proving your worth to those who refuse to see it, just results. Just standing at the top, looking down at the same people who once told you that you would never make it. Nothing silences doubters faster than winning. Nothing humbles those who laughed at you more than watching you become everything they swore you couldn't be. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them believe whatever helps them sleep at night. You don't need to convince them. You don't need their approval. Just focus, work harder, stay patient. Because when the time comes when you've built yourself into something unstoppable, your success will be so loud that the world will have no choice but to listen. Michael Jordan and Oprah Winfrey didn't fight back with words. They proved themselves with results. When the world doubted them, when people dismissed their potential, they didn't waste time arguing. They didn't beg to be understood or demand validation. They did what champions do. They worked in silence and let success be their response. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Imagine the humiliation, the disappointment, the voices telling him he wasn't good enough. A lesser person might have complained, made excuses, or blamed the coach. But Jordan didn't waste his energy trying to convince anyone of his greatness. Instead, he used that rejection as fuel. He trained harder than ever before, perfecting his craft in silence. He let every doubt, every dismissal, every rejection turn into relentless motivation. And years later, those same people who once underestimated him had no choice but to witness his rise as the greatest basketball player of all time. He didn't argue. He dominated. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job, told she wasn't fit for TV. She could have spent time pleading with executives, trying to convince them they were wrong, but she didn't. She walked away and built her own empire. She turned every rejection into an opportunity, every doubt into drive. And today, the same industry that once rejected her now praises her as one of the most influential media moguls in history. She didn't need their approval. She didn't need their belief. She needed only one thing: results. That is the difference between those who stay stuck and those who rise. The ones who waste time explaining themselves to doubters are the ones who never reach their full potential. But the ones who stay silent, who focus on the work, who refuse to let the opinions of others define them, those are the ones who rewrite history. People will doubt you. They will tell you that you can't, that you're not good enough, that you don't have what it takes. Let them talk. Let them think they're right, and then prove them wrong. Not with words, not with explanations, but with undeniable success. Because at the end of the day, arguments are forgotten, debates fade, but results leave a legacy that speaks for itself. Ego-driven people want your reaction. They don't just seek control, they thrive on it. They feed off your frustration, your anger, your need to prove yourself. Every time you argue, defend, or try to explain your worth, you are giving them exactly what they want. Proof that they still have influence over you. They don't want to understand you. They want to dominate you. They don't need to be right. They just need you to feel wrong. These people don't build their confidence from within. Their self-worth is not rooted in real strength. Instead, they construct their fragile egos by tearing others down. They insult, criticize, and challenge, not to seek truth, but to provoke emotion, because as long as you react, they are in control. As long as you try to justify yourself, they still hold power over how you feel. And the moment you realize that, the moment you step back and refuse to engage, you take away their greatest weapon. Imagine someone constantly belittling you, challenging you, pushing you to snap. They poke, they provoke, they wait for you to lose your composure. Why? Because the moment you react, they win. The moment you let their words dictate your emotions, they have successfully manipulated your energy. But when you remain unshaken, when you let their words pass through you like wind, they are left powerless. Their insults lose meaning. Their attempts to control you fail. They are left standing there frustrated, confused, and most of all, exposed. Think of a boxer in the ring. The opponent taunts, tries to bait them into throwing wild punches. The undisciplined fighter takes the bait, swings recklessly, wastes energy. But the champion stays calm, composed, and focused. They know that the moment they lose control, they lose the fight. Life is the same. The second you let ego-driven people dictate your actions, you fall into their trap. But when you stay disciplined, when you refuse to engage, you remain in control. They want you emotional. They want you desperate for their approval. But you don't need to play their game. You don't need to prove anything to anyone who refuses to see your worth. Walk away with your head held high, because the one who remains calm, the one who does not break under pressure, is the one who truly holds the power. The most powerful revenge is undeniable success. Not anger, not arguments, not proving yourself to people who never believed in you, just results so massive, so undeniable that those who once doubted you are left speechless. The greatest victories don't come from fighting battles with words. They come from rising so high that those who tried to bring you down are forced to watch you shine. It is natural to want to prove yourself when people doubt you, when they belittle your dreams, when they tell you that you won't make it. Every part of you wants to push back, to explain, to show them why they're wrong. But here's the truth. Explanations don't change minds. Words don't break egos. The people who doubt you aren't looking for reasons to believe in you. They don't see your potential because they refuse to. And nothing you say will ever change that. The only thing that does, success. There is no greater silence than the one that follows a person who was once doubted, proving the world wrong. The laughter stops. The criticism fades. The ones who mocked you, who dismissed you, who told you that you weren't good enough, suddenly they have nothing left to say. Because success forces people to acknowledge what they once ignored. It demands respect, even from those who never wanted to give it. Think about the people who were counted out, underestimated, rejected. J.K. Rowling was told her book wasn't good enough by multiple publishers. Now the world knows her name. Walt Disney was fired from a job because they said he lacked creativity. Now his legacy is larger than life. They didn't fight back with arguments. They didn't waste energy proving themselves to those who couldn't see their worth. They simply became undeniable. That is the power of success. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't beg to be recognized. It speaks for itself. And the best part, by the time you've made it, by the time you've risen above every doubt and every insult, you won't even care what they think anymore. Because the moment you stop chasing validation and start chasing greatness, you realize that the ones who doubted you were never important. They were just noise. And the only thing that matters is how far you've come despite them. Walking away with confidence forces them to face their own insecurity. Nothing is more unsettling to an ego-driven person than someone who refuses to engage in their games. They expect a reaction. They expect you to fight back, to explain, to defend yourself, because as long as you do, they still hold power. They still have control over how you feel. But the moment you step back, when you choose silence over struggle, when you walk away with your head held high, something shifts. Suddenly, they are left with themselves, and that is their greatest fear. People who belittle others do so to mask their own insecurities. They need to feel superior, to tear others down just to feel like they are rising. But their confidence is not real. It is fragile, built on the illusion that they are stronger than those they criticize. The moment you refuse to play their game, you expose the truth. Their strength was never real to begin with. It only existed when you reacted. It only held power when you gave them your energy. Imagine someone throwing insults, trying to provoke you, waiting for you to crack. They push, they challenge, they wait, but you do nothing. You don't argue, you don't justify, you simply walk away unbothered. In that moment, the power dynamic shifts. Their words, once designed to hurt, now hang in the air, empty and meaningless. They are left standing in the weight of their own insecurity, realizing that without your reaction, without your energy, they are nothing. History has proven this time and time again. The strongest individuals are not the ones who scream the loudest or fight the hardest. They are the ones who know when to step back, when to let actions speak louder than words. Think of those who were mocked, dismissed, underestimated. They didn't waste time trying to change minds. They built themselves in silence. And when they succeeded, those who once doubted them had no choice but to face the truth. Your silence is not weakness. Your refusal to engage is not surrender. It is the ultimate power move, because when you walk away with confidence, you leave them to battle the one thing they can't escape, their own reflection. And in that reflection, they see the truth they spent their entire lives running from. Their power was never real, and without your reaction, they have none at all. Let them think they've won while you prepare your greatest comeback. There is a certain kind of power in patience, in staying quiet when the world expects you to fight back, in letting them believe they have defeated you while you silently build something unstoppable. People who underestimate you thrive on the illusion of victory. They mock, they dismiss, they celebrate your supposed failure, never realizing that the moment they stop paying attention is the moment you become the most dangerous. The greatest comebacks in history were never loud in the beginning. They didn't start with arguments, with explanations, with desperate attempts to prove doubters wrong. They started in silence. They started in the unseen hours of relentless work, in the moments when no one was watching, when no one believed, when it seemed like all hope was lost. And then one day, without warning, everything changed. The world looked up, and the person they had counted out, the one they had laughed at, the one they had overlooked, was suddenly on top. Think about an athlete who gets injured, written off by critics, declared finished. The world moves on, assuming their story is over. But while the world forgets, they grind in silence. They train harder than ever, fueled by every doubt, every insult, every moment of dismissal. And when they return, stronger, faster, greater than before, the same people who once mocked them are left speechless. They never saw it coming. They were too busy celebrating their supposed victory to realize they had only set the stage for something greater. Success is the greatest revenge because it doesn't just prove people wrong, it makes them question everything they thought they knew. It forces them to recognize that their judgment was flawed, that their arrogance was misplaced, and by the time they realize it, it's too late. The person they doubted is already too far ahead, too powerful, too unstoppable to ignore. So let them think they've won. Let them laugh. Let them underestimate you. Because while they celebrate their illusion of victory, you are quietly preparing the moment that will redefine everything. Stay patient, stay focused. Because when your moment comes, when your success becomes undeniable, the only thing left for them to do will be to watch in silence as you rise beyond anything they ever imagined possible. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. It is the power move that shatters egos, the quiet force that dismantles illusions of control. The people who doubt you, mock you, and try to break you rely on your reaction to fuel their false sense of superiority. They expect you to argue, to explain, to prove yourself. But true strength is not found in words. It is found in action. Let them doubt. Let them believe they have won. But while they waste their energy feeding their egos, you will be building something far greater. You will be sharpening your skills, refining your craft, and preparing for the moment when the world will have no choice but to recognize your greatness. Because success is the loudest response and the most undeniable revenge. The greatest comebacks are made in silence. The most powerful people are those who do not beg for validation, who do not fight pointless battles, who do not let the opinions of small-minded individuals dictate their path. Instead, they rise effortlessly, unstoppably, leaving their doubters speechless, their critics humbled, and their naysayers drowning in their own insecurity. So do not waste time in battles that do not serve you. Do not explain yourself to those who refuse to see your worth. Walk away with confidence. Build in silence. Let them think they have won until the day your success speaks so loudly that the world is left in awe. Because in the end, the ones who stay focused, who refuse to be shaken, who let their results do the talking, are the ones who win.